On April 20th, 1999, there was a mass shooting at Columbine High School. And in the immediate aftermath of the shooting, there was a news story that came out that one of the gunmen went into the library, put a gun to a girl's head, and asked her, "Do you believe in God?" She said yes, and he killed her. I was 10 years old when I heard that on the radio with my mom. I was in the minivan. We were a very Catholic family. And my mom goes, "You know, Peter, that girl, she's a martyr. She died for what she believed. She died for her religion. She has a one-way ticket to heaven, which is where her soul is right now." And I was a curious boy. I said, "Mom, if you had a gun to your head and somebody asked you if you believe in God, would you say yes?" She said, "Yes." I said, "If I had a gun to my head and somebody asked me if I believe in God, should I say yes?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Mom, do you love God more than me?" She said, "Yes." And from that day forward, it was cement in my head that God and Jesus Christ was the number one being in all of life. More important than Mom, more important than Dad. And I was already a weirdly religious kid. I was an altar boy until I was 18. I played saxophone in church. I went to my catechism. I read the Bible a handful of times. There's a story of Jesus going into the woods where he prayed so hard, he bled from his head. And as a boy, I would go into the woods and I would pray for long periods of time. And when I left with no blood on my head, I felt like a failure. I even would fast for Lent, which no Catholic does. They're all just like, "I gave up chocolate," But for 40 days, I would give up food, and I would extend that period because I'm so obsessed with it to what a therapist once called a religious-based anorexia. And I was a very religious kid. Like, religion wasn't a belief to me; it was fact. And fast forward a few years to while I'm 19, there's an ad in a church bulletin. It's for a job for doing landscaping and maintenance work. And the job pays $10 an hour. It's April through August. They're looking for college guys. If you complete the summer, you get a $1,000 scholarship. We grew up from a middle-class family. It was working class. We all had jobs. My dad didn't co-sign loans. We didn't have money. I had to pay for school in cash, so this job was a godsend, right? I show up the first day. I get the job interview, get the job. I show up the first day, and I find out when I show up to the other college guys that I will be working doing landscaping and maintenance at a rehab center for nuns. I'll say it again. Landscaping and maintenance work specifically at a rehab center just for nuns. It's the only one in the country that I know of. They have one for priests in Minnesota. And we're like, everyone's thinking like what you're thinking. You're like, "Oh, rehab because they have too much God? They're addicted to God?" It's like, no, alcoholism, drug addictions, meth, cocaine. There were nuns who had, obesity was a big one. Food addiction. Women couldn't stop eating. A lot of 300, 400-pound nuns, their food addictions. There was a gambling addiction. One nun lost $1 million in parish money, and she just kept taking it in and throwing it at the roulette wheel. There was sex nuns. That was the big one. Nuns addicted to sex. We were working doing landscaping in the hot summers and would ask, "Can we take off our shirts? Can we even cut off the sleeves of our shirts while we're digging holes and re-roofing buildings?" And they said, "No, because you might send the sex nuns into a relapse." This was a real job. It was crazy. It was like none of the work we did was regulation. None of it was safe. It was idiot college guys doing their best with a dumb supervisor. And nature was like a constant battle because we did this on 100 acres of Michigan woodland. So we were fighting. There were cranes we'd fight. I hate geese to this day. Canadian geese suck. Raccoons were terrible. The women were housed in a mansion built in the 1920s by a newspaper tycoon in Michigan. A 70-room mansion with a full-on church inside with a 30-foot pipe organ in there, and it had a bat infestation. When they actually cleaned it out, there were 5,000 bats living in the attic. It was a whole colony. And we'd find dead bats everywhere. There were bats over there, bats in the halls. We'd have to get them out. We had to get one out with a tennis mac and a catcher's mitt. That's all we had. Noel ran up and went, bam, flashed it. Dick had their catcher's mitt, like, bam. Caught it, took it outside. And like the nuns, we weren't allowed to talk to them. It was like speak when spoken to, you know. And it was all in passing. Like one time we got a work order for a broken toilet, right? A broken toilet. That was the work order. Show up to the nun's room. Inside the toilet, me and my supervisor go in the toilet. We lift up the lid. There's just a bat in the toilet. There was a bat in the toilet bowl. She trapped in the toilet bowl. It was screeching and flapping. It freaked us out. My boss slammed the lid down and he goes, "What the fuck are they feeding these nuns? Macaroni doesn't do that to people." I laughed so hard. Oh man. That's how it was. We just saw them in Pat. Like, I didn't really have interaction with these ladies, you know. We was just doing work. They would say some real stuff though. Like, I remember we saw one nun, Janet, on the trails through the woods. You know, we worked a lot in the woods, cutting down trees, doing stuff. We saw Janet. "How you doing, Janet?" You know. She's like, "It's not so good. I got a lot of trouble today. We were in art therapy, and I drew a picture of me killing myself. And they said, 'Janet, you can't do that.' And I said, 'Well, I want it because I hate this place. And, you know, it's not because I'm away from my booze. I'm okay with that. I just hate the fact that we got to eat all the fat nut food. I don't want to do that. Why do I have to eat sugar-free food? I don't have a food addiction. I got an alcohol addiction. I just want some sugar in my Jell-O.' So I'm in front, standing there with a weed whacker and a leaf blower, like, good luck with not killing yourself. Gotta walk away. But like being really religious, it was weird to me. It just didn't sit well that like I was raised to believe a nun is God's wife. I'm like, how do all of these women have such problems, you know? And I remember once I was working and I saw a nun. It was in the wintertime. I would work weekends, midnight to 8 a.m. as a secretary in the winters. And a nun got up for an early morning walk, and it was like 6 a.m. She slips and falls on the ice, and she screams, "Help me, God!" And he didn't. She fell like everybody else. And people are like, "Well, what do you expect, Pete?" And I'm like, "I don't know, okay? I to regain her footing for like a gust of wind, like Disney style, like some birds in a bedsheet, just fucking something. This is God's wife calling out for help. If she doesn't get any, what chance do I have?" And then I found out the next summer that it wasn't just rehab and addiction that nuns were there for. I was sitting in the cab of the truck with my boss. We were between jobs on the property, and we were smoking some cigarettes, just silent, tired between jobs. And he had one of these moments, I call it like an out-of-nowhere moment, where like somebody you wouldn't expect opens up and is just super vulnerable for some reason. Like he had a very sophomoric sense of humor. You heard the toilet story. It was just shit jokes all day long from this guy. And it was silent for like 10 minutes, and he goes, "You know, there used to be a nun here, thin as a rail, real pale. She walked the property and kind of a husk of a woman. She looked like a ghost. And I would always say hi to her, and I'm really friendly with all the nuns. They all loved me, and she wouldn't talk to me, and I'm like, what's her problem? What's her deal?" And I found out that this nun, she was doing missionary work in Africa when she was abducted by a local militia, and they used her as a sex slave for 30 days. For 30 days and nights, they raped her continuously, whenever they wanted, however they wanted, at any hour. And she only escaped by eventually digging a hole in the dirt floor and escaping herself. Now you want to tell me there's a God? If he's all powerful, how can he just sit there and stomach watching his wife get raped over and over and not do anything to stop it? If you ask me, he's no better than the rapist himself. And he flicked his cigarette and we went on to the next job. I stopped working there at 20, moved to LA at 21, and at 22 I committed apostasy. A lot of people don't know what word is. Apostasy is when you formally denounce your religion. It's the one unforgivable sin. If you commit it, you cast your own soul into hell. In over a dozen countries this day, if you commit apostasy, they'll kill you. Mostly Islamic countries, but they're like, your soul's in hell, so why are you here? So they just execute you. And my mom knows this. She's a deeply religious woman. She knows that she will never see her son again in heaven if religion is to be true. I'm already in hell. She called me crying one day and she said, "Peter, why don't you love God anymore?" And I said, "Mom, because he doesn't love you. I've read the Bible. I've read the whole thing. He didn't say don't rape once. He told us how not to mix fabrics, but he won't tell us not to rape. That is not my God. I'm not going to bend down and knee to that guy. I would rather believe that this universe is pattern and chaos, that humans choose to find meaning in the meaninglessness, than believe that there's an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving creature who can watch women get raped and give his children cancer. There was a point in time where I would pray to God in the woods that He would make me a martyr, that He would put me in a position where I would have a gun to my head, and then someone asked me if I believe, I say yes, click. Because that's how much I'm going to show my love to God. And now I realize, Mom, that God, He has enough souls. If I could give my life to anybody, it would be to you. Thank you.